guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Stephen.
And this is F1 Fanatics. Welcome back to another track comparison video. The first track comparison of what we are calling on the channel the Corona break.
The Corona break.
We've had the winter break, now we have the Corona break.
The Corona break.
So, we are here to entertain you with your F1 lust for knowledge, endless debate, and just good fun chatting about F1.
Yeah.
So, we are here to another track comparison, and it's a good one today.
We got some classics here.
Two absolute classic mainstays of the F1 calendar. It is, of course, Spa versus Monza.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
The two big boys.
They're big boys, and they're next to each other in the calendar, so it makes it
the fastest ones, fastest of the pack.
They certainly have some exciting pace within that. But yes, what we're going to do in our usual kind of rundown in a track comparison video is we will give you some stats about the circuit first up, then we will give you what we think the technical difficulty is of the race before giving our best qualifying lap, best race, some highlights from it, and then of course our conclusions where we decide which is better, Spa or Monza.
Spa.
Monza.
Spa.
Should we debate?
Let's get into it.
Okay, so starting off with some stats, and Stephen, with Spa.
Well, Spa has literally been around forever, even before the F1 World Championship even kicked off. But we're just taking into account the F1 World Championship. So it introduced in 1950, it was one of the original Grand Prix part of the calendar. And it's only missed 3 Grand Prix since. So it's had 66 races there. Quite a few. It's going to be tough when picking out some highlights of those 66 races. But anyway, most successful driver there has been a Michael Schumacher, of course, dominates. Last race winner was Charles Leclerc, the first driver to claim a maiden victory there since Schumacher did himself in 1992. The track length since 2007 is just over 7 kilometers long, makes 44 laps in the race. Fastest lap there is Valtteri Bottas with a 1:46.2, which he did in 2018, and the attendance is 70,000 people, which is the longest race on the calendar, but only 70,000 capacity because it's quite rural, so it's quite difficult to pack people in there.
It's definitely in the forest spot.
Yes. Yeah.
Now on to the stats about Monza, and like Spa, been on the calendar in the first ever year of Grand Prix racing, well, the official formation of F1 in 1950, which we should be celebrating a happy 70 years this year.
Maybe.
Not quite as planned. But yes, and Monza has had 68 races in that time. The only time it has not held the Italian Grand Prix was actually in 1980, where Imola hosted because Monza was undergoing some refurbishment. A bit like Spa, it's been around forever. It was built in 1922 and was the third ever purpose-built racetrack. Ooh. So that's a nice little tick to have, wouldn't you think? But if you'd watched our Italian Grand Prix preview, you would have found that stat out from Ash all the way back on there. But it's always a good one to bring out, I think.
Yeah.
Most successful driver there has been Michael Schumacher, but it's joint with Lewis Hamilton with both 5 victories at the Temple of Speed. And the last winner, another one in common, Charles Leclerc. The first driver to win in front of the Tifosi in the Ferrari colours since Fernando Alonso in 2010.
Every time. He always gets a mention.
No, he doesn't always get a mention.
Come on now.
Most of the time. Okay, so Charles Leclerc, we're focusing on him, and the track length is a 5.793 kilometre track. The number of laps are 53 to complete a kind of Grand Prix at Monza, and the fastest lap was a 1:21.046, I believe, and it was set by that ever-dominating Ferrari in 2004, but not the usual suspect. Rubens Barrichello has the track record for Monza, but it is a Ferrari, so it does kind of feel right.
Yeah.
And the attendance is 113,800.
To be precise.
there's another number there I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's a little bit bigger than Spa. But you know, as always, it's always nice to kind of ground some stats about the circuit, give some little bit, but now we'll kind of get into the nitty gritty of what we want, what it kind of produces on a race weekend. So we're going to go for technical difficulty, and would you like to start off with Spa, Stephen?
Well, with Spa, I would say technically the first part of the track is where you're going to get tested the most. That first corner hairpin, let's just say there's been a few incidents there in the race.
We'll wait to those. We'll wait to hear about those.
But yes, there's been carnage there, and then up through the fast uphill section over the blind crest of the hill, and yeah. But then after that, you got the few long straights covered. You have the long winding corners, I would say. Guess that's an accurate description of them in the middle section.
The very technical terms that we love to kind of get into detail here whenever from that. The long windy one, the one that goes round.
Yeah.
You turn the car. What more do you want from us?
I would say the first section is technically toughest. You got some long straights in there where you can pick up a little bit of speed, and then I'd say technically difficult. If I was judging it on sector 1, then it's going to be up there, like a 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. But overall, maybe 7 out of 10.
I'd say that's probably fair. It's probably a mid-level track.
Yeah.
Both tracks are supremely fast in their pace.
Yeah.
I think also what you've got to bring in with technical difficulty is the actual length of Spa. The concentration over one lap is quite long because obviously it's the longer circuit on the calendar. So that is quite demanding there for it. For Monza, for me, it is just out and out speed. It is classic Ferrari. It is a show off of a fast car, really, in terms of there. And I would say this is one of the easiest tracks on the calendar. Yes, it does have the chicanes that are put in there to kind of slow things down, to add a little bit on it, but let's be honest with it, Monza is literally about going flat out and getting as close to your top speed as possible in an F1 car. It isn't one that the driver's going to go, oh, that's technically challenging, although turn 1 into turn 2 is a very difficult corner to navigate in terms of going from pretty much the maximum speed out of Parabolica onto that kind of pitch straight, and then into turns 1 and 2. Yeah, that is a really difficult corner to nail.
Yeah.
So that would be its increase in technical difficulty, but the rest of the lap is pretty much bread and butter for these F1 drivers.
Corner, long straight. Corner, foot to the floor.
Corner, straight corner.
Yeah.
It pretty much is a straight corner. It's just... But yes, that is the technical difficulty round that we have rounded up, and probably one of our most technically acknowledged ones today.
The windy one.
The one that goes round.
I apologise. I was struggling on my feet there.
I thought about it, but when the words wanted to come out my mouth, they said
all I
round.
got was windy one.
Well, all I said was corners. Like I said, what more do you want from us? How demanding do you want to be? I don't know. That's for sure. See, Tara doesn't even know.
Not happy.
In terms of that. But we now move on to the Saturday of a race weekend. Yes, Tara. Saturday qualifying. And that is going to be the best qualifying at Spa, Stephen. Let me know.
Well, I think we're both going to have this problem here. And I've got 66 qualifying sessions to pick from. You've got 68. Slightly tougher job. It's quite difficult to narrow down that the best one. I think it's fair to say. It kind of comes down to maybe your driver preference, team preference kind of thing. There are lots of fair answers, I would say, but I'm going to have to go for Sebastian Vettel's 2009 Red Bull pole lap. Set lap record there. It was just pretty spot on.
Obviously, you know, hadn't got to Ferrari at that stage, but his hero Michael Schumacher dominated Ferrari. Being at the Ferrari track, setting a lap record is pretty special.
Yeah.
There to do that.
I'm wearing the colours as well.
You do like to wear your colours. You like to wear them. Show them. Loud and proud.
It's not really a Red Bull driver here or there.
Yeah, you have to talk about Mercedes, you're screwed. But other than that,
I'll find a way to get a reference in.
we're here. No, but yeah, I think instead of best qualifying, because obviously, you know, the onboards are really the best way of kind of judging a qualifying lap, and you know, at 26 and 22 years of age, we're a little bit younger.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit difficult to remember laps before then, and as the onboards only really came in 1989, it does cut us down, but also we're probably going to lean more to ones we remember. So it's more probably favourite qualifying lap. And so my favourite is Monza, because it was, well, that's the track I'm doing, was Kimi Räikkönen. Was Kimi Räikkönen at Monza in 2018, just because it was his last kind of lap in a Ferrari car. It was at the Temple of Speed, the home of Ferrari. He put himself on pole position, and it was a pretty quick lap, because although, you know, it's not the roaring V8s, you know, it could quite easily have been, you know, the Ferrari in 2004, but I think, you know, if we were going for Ferrari ones on Ferrari circuits, I know we did Imola the other time and all gave that to kind of Schumacher. You know, if we were giving it to kind of that era all the time, it might be repetitive. So throwing in a curveball, 2018, Kimi Räikkönen Ferrari. What excuse do you need to give Kimi Räikkönen a favourite moment?
Yeah, there is none.
There is
no excuse.
It's just accepted.
Yeah.
And now we move on to best race.
I'm going to have to go for the 2000 Spa Grand Prix. Closely fought contest between Schumacher and Häkkinen. Häkkinen had sealed pole in qualifying, but spun on lap 13, giving him quite the task to catch the one and only Michael Schumacher. Invincible at Spa, as we said earlier, most successful driver there, but Häkkinen did it. A masterclass in overtaking by him, with the help of a lap in a car, made the overtake on Schumacher and sealed the win at Spa in 2000.
It was a good race.
Yeah.
Very good race, and that kind of battle between kind of 1998 and 2000 with Mika and Schumacher was a really kind of great battle, I think. The two kind of feisty, fierce competitive rivalries, one of Schumacher's best. My one is, because we've got a wealth of knowledge, I'm going to use that history, and it's going to be the late, great Jim Clark in the kind of Honda-powered Lotus. And he was going round Monza in its kind of classic circuit, where I think it was just kind of literally an oval, where it was just literally like
speed.
Fast! Well, I think it was on lap 12, Jim Clark, you know, in dominating form, was kind of, he had a puncture.
Oh.
Sent him to the back. All hopes of a race win, they were gone.
Over.
He was a lap down. Pretty much done. But he fought his way back through the field, and he was able to overtake and hold off for the victory and managed to win the race. So not only did he survive a puncture and get his car back to the pits, he also overtook the cars twice.
Twice.
Because he was a lap down.
Fair enough.
I mean, that's incredible. It was actually Honda's last win at Monza, up until, of course, JB, Big Jenson Button, did it in 2006 for the Works team. Big shout out, JB.
And Jim Clark's victory is almost Jenson Button-esque.
Indeed.
Or is it Jenson Button's victories
Jim Clark-esque?
I should say.
It really should go from before, but
yes.
It sounded an absolutely brilliant race, and Jim Clark is noted as one of the greatest drivers to grace the sport, sadly taken before his time, and it sounded like one of his absolutely classic performances. Twice. We now move on to highlights. It's usually a highlight we had to pick, but I picked 3, so Stephen...
I've got 2.
So we went highlights. Lots of history, so we've expanded for this one.
Yes.
So do you actually...
Okay. That was my cue. Well, my highlights do share a common thing, or should I say common corner. That is corner 1. They also share the first lap, and they also share carnage. That is, I'm going to start off with I'll start off with the more gentler one, but
you work your way up.
It's going to be more hard-hitting for you.
He's going to ease you guys in.
He's going to probably butt in. I'm going to say 2012. Lewis, Alonso, Grosjean.
2012.
And there was another driver in there. But the title was closely being fought between Vettel and Alonso. But Grosjean didn't really care. I think he shoved Lewis out wide, and then Lewis came sliding back in, hit another car. I think Lewis ended up going over Alonso.
I think so, yeah.
It was carnage.
No, I think it was Grosjean that flew over.
Grosjean.
And Roman Grosjean, the last driver to be banned from a race in F1. It wasn't his finest moment, and it's a shame because I said before it's something that has distinguished his career.
Yes.
That instant. So it is a standout, maybe not a highlight, but a low light.
He did it in spectacular fashion, the race ban.
Did.
Flying over a car. Difficult to do, but he did it. And he also caused 3 other cars and himself to go out of the race. And I don't think Alonso really recovered after that. Second half of the season. And that was that. But 4 cars, come on now. It's not very impressive for a pile up. So, 1998. First corner. It wasn't just 4 cars. It wasn't just 8 cars. It wasn't just 10 cars. There were 13 cars in that pile up.
The conditions in that race were absolutely horrendous. Like, horrendous.
Yeah.
Like, seeing the footage of it is just like, wow.
I believe the word used to describe it was atrocious.
I could go with that word.
Yes.
Atrocious works for me.
Everyone was going for it, and everyone also was going home early. Well, 13 of them. Yes. 13 cars, pile up. That is impressive. Roman Grosjean, eat your heart out. He can even cause 5 cars. Just call 4.
So, my highlights, 3 of them. And Monza. What highlights we've got. So in 1956, Juan Manuel Fangio is going for his 4th world title with the Ferrari powered car. He is in the last championship deciding round at Monza. His car decides to break down. Back in those days, Ferrari had 5 drivers. They had the 2 Italian drivers, I believe a Spanish driver, and obviously in that year Juan Manuel Fangio and Peter Collins. And Fangio's car broke down, but in those days you could switch your car to a teammate and get half points for the race.
Poor teammate. It's like
Musso, the Italian.
When Fangio comes calling.
As Musso, he turned round his home Grand Prix. Italian, he went, no, do one, Fangio. I don't care if you're going to have a world championship.
Whoa.
4th world championship. I don't care. This is Monza. This is it. I've got a chance to win. I'm staying in my Ferrari.
But it's Fangio.
Fangio's there. He's like, what do I do? I've got no car. My car's broken down. We say he's driven off. Well, in comes Peter Collins, the other title contender. All Peter Collins had to do was win the race. He decided to give up his car for Fangio. Fangio won his record 4th World Championship at that stage. And yeah, Peter Collins would sadly die in 1958 and not have a chance to win a world title. Very sad, he would have been the first Englishman to win a championship as well.
Oh.
So that was a sad highlight, but what a kind of crazy race in that. 1988 in Monza. It has been 9 years since an Italian 1-2 Ferrari have won in front of the Tifosi. McLaren absolutely dominating. Prost, Senna, smashing it. It's all about Prost and Senna in 1988.
A dream partnership.
So
it wasn't quite dreamy between the two, but overall
it smashed it for McLaren. So what happens? They qualify 1-2. McLaren's got it in the bag.
in the bag.
In the bag. Prost, he retires early. Senna looks like he's still going to bring it home for the McLaren.
It's still in the bag.
He's still going to bring it home. But late on in the race, manages to beach the McLaren, which means it's the first Ferrari 1-2 at Monza in 9 years. And it was even more special because it was the first Grand Prix after the sad passing of Enzo Ferrari. The kind of founder of Ferrari, the driving force that made Ferrari a household name. They did it for Enzo. So that was there. And then 1996, Michael Schumacher has left championship winning Benetton. He'd won the world title in 1995. And then the Williams was dominating with Damon Hill and Jacques Villeneuve. But Michael Schumacher, home of the Tifosi, home of Ferrari, he had other plans. And he managed to win the 1996 Grand Prix at Monza and win his first race at Monza in a Ferrari. So I thought all pretty special and standout moments for themselves. Exactly. He would then obviously write his name in the Ferrari books with Ferrari. In the history books with Ferrari, not the Ferrari books. In the Ferrari books. He probably wrote in Ferrari books too.
With Ferrari.
What are we doing here today? No turns. The Ferrari books for Ferrari. Oh
Dear.
Sorry. It's going to be a long Corona break. But that is the race highlights. So now we come on to our conclusions. Dun, dun, dun. Bam. Stephen, what are you feeling? What has hit the heartstrings? You've pled the case for Spa. Do you believe in Spa?
Yes.
Okay.
You don't have to keep going. Spa. I just feel it's better racing. I know Monza's all about speed. It's probably better if you're there live. But overall, Spa for me. It's got the racing, it's got the speed, it's got the carnage. You can't put a history card on me this time unless you're going to say, oh, Monza's got 2 extra races. History. You can't do that this time.
There is no history card. But Imola, I left by the wayside. You took up the Imola mantle in that track comparison.
I ditched it quite quickly though.
But Monza, it is here. I am backing Monza. Monza is the one. It is the home of the Tifosi, the power. Ferrari is the powerhouse of Formula One, the most successful team in Formula One history. It's their home Grand Prix. The atmosphere is said to be special. It is almost like an F1 pilgrimage to go to Monza at least once in your life. Obviously we are hoping to get to that in latter years. With the Corona break. This year is definitely difficult, and I think for people getting to Monza this year. But you know, it's the absolute speed, the showing off of maximal performance. To me, Spa and Monza, they're quite similar. A lot of the action happens on the straights, but you know, Monza in 2019 was a fantastic race. How good was that battle between Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, where, you know, it got really close to what was on the edge of okay, and there the chicanes actually did add into some good on-track battles and fighting there, and Valtteri Bottas breaking up late. You know, there's still some fascinating on-track action, and it absolutely shows off the maximal performance, the horsepower of the prancing horse and all the other horses in Ferrari. Monza, it's got to be Monza. Monza, it's got to be Monza. Monza.
It's the Orange Army.
Yeah, home of Max Verstappen, it's always going to sway you. But yes, guys, that is our thoughts on Spa and Monza. We hope you enjoyed that. Two absolutely classic circuits. Some classic races, so much history at both circuits. In fairness, they are both brilliant tracks.
Yeah.
You know, I probably would concede that if you are driving one, Spa is probably the more fun to drive, certainly there. But, you know, to hear the kind of, if I was in like a V8 Formula 1 car.
The live experience of Monza, just taking it.
Just hearing it kind of, those cars squeal and screech round the kind of circuit of Monza. Yeah, you know, the history of it, 2 races.
I just realised it's like the Orange Army versus the Red Army.
Yeah.
They're 2 dominated fan tracks.
Exactly. But now you're going to lose it because Zandvoort's coming in.
Yeah.
And that does look actually pretty good with the back.
Well, then I'm going to switch allegiances to Zandvoort.
Alright, fair enough. Fair enough. But anyway, guys, that has been another track comparison. We hope you've enjoyed it. We've got our ideas for more track comparisons, but if any of these things, if you would like to give us a suggestion for a track comparison you'd like to see us do, we're always happy to kind of go and do those and, yeah, take your suggestions on board. But let us know what you think. We've given our thoughts. Which is better for you? Does Spa come out on top, or does Monza come out on top?
Spa.
Monza.
Spa.
Monza.
Spa.
We could go at this all day. But guys, we hope you've enjoyed the video, and if they're new around here or they haven't done so already, what can they do, Stephen?
They can like, they can subscribe, and they can ding that bell.
Ding that bell. And, you know, that's it from us. We've waffled a bit today, but there was so much history, so much to talk about with these 2 racetracks.
Ferrari books.
And so much way corners, the turns,
that one,
the ones that make it go round, those ones. There were plenty of those ones. But we hope you enjoyed it as always. And for now, you F1 fans, keep racing.